All right, so ready to go?
Sure.
All right. So, hi everybody. My name is Ravi Brumbat. I am the TiE community chair. My goal here for this session, for this Ask Me Anything session, is to offer proactive mentoring, where we've got great charter members across the world that have, lots of expertise and experience in different new technologies. So today, I have the pleasure of talking to Satyajit Doctor. And Satyajit Doctor is from our TiE Dallas chapter, but he's not in Dallas, are you, Satyajit?
No, today I'm in beautiful La Jolla. It's in California. I'm right on the beach. But so happy to be here. Just TiE University means so much. I would rather be talking to you than enjoy surfing out there. Okay.
No, I'll make this. So we'll make this session quick. You know, our Ask Me Anything sessions are usually about 45 minutes to an hour. And our intent here, again, is to offer proactive mentoring. So,
Yes.
the reason I've asked you for this is I've heard a lot about 5G, and I've heard a lot about telecommunications, the future of Wi-Fi and internet. And I've heard a lot of great things from you. So before, I said, look, instead of students, searching the web for this information, let's get it from our charter member and let's do a proactive mentoring session with you. So Satyajit, I'd love for you to kind of just tell us a little bit about you and your company, and then we'll kind of delve into the future of 5G, and I have some questions for you.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you. First of all, really excited. As I said, I'm on the beach, but I'm so happy to be here for TiE Universities. I think that's personally, it's my passion to help students. And I think, Ravi, as you know, you and I have worked together on several programs, and it's fun. We have amazing talent in the young students that are coming through TiE University, and our future as a humanity is bright. However, my company, I think Award Solutions, I started the company about 25 years ago. And the mission of Award, we exist to improve the performance of people, products, and networks. So we help our customers improve the performance of their people or their products or their networks. And we do it in two ways. We do it either through very advanced technology training and learning solutions, or we do some very interesting consulting on these advanced technologies and help our customers adopt the newer technologies and get to ROI faster. Because one of the things that happens is when a new technology is brought in, one of the things that prevents the return on investment or faster return on investment is the skill base. If everybody knows how to best take advantage of it, then the companies get the return on investment much faster. And that's where we come in. We help our customers all the way. And I think it could be either executives or engineering staff or operations staff or sales and marketing staff understand the power of new technologies and what it brings to you, what are the new challenges, and how does a company adopt a new technology in their business operations. That's what we do.
Amazing. So how does a guy with the last name of Doctor end up starting a company 25 years ago to support people, network, and product, your customers? How did you start Award Solutions? It's amazing. Expected you in the medical field.
Well, I think the issue is you have to be smart to be in medical field. Okay, that's good. My parents were smart. Okay, they were wonderful human beings. Really, I'm blessed to be born in a group of very intelligent people. However, every family has a black sheep. I happen to be of mine. Okay, but after completing computer science, while I was at UT Dallas doing my graduate work in computer science, I met a co-student who has become my lifelong best friend in America, Ramki Rajagopalan. And we used to study together. And we were very frankly, we were lazy. So what we would do is we would say, hey, you learn half, I learn half, and I will teach each other. And that was what had ignited the passion for training and all of that. And then we went our different ways. I went to a company called Bell Northern Research, which became Nortel. And I was doing wireless systems engineering. Ramki did something different. But when we met together after a few years in the professional world, I think we saw an opportunity that we were at the beginning of third generation of wireless, and we'll talk more about it. But we saw that there are so many people who need to understand these advanced technologies. And if they have a good understanding of it, and the faster we can help them develop the skills and expertise on it, the faster their companies can benefit from their workforce or from their network performance and so forth. And that's basically what got us started into creating award solutions. I'm blessed to be leading a company with amazing people. I always tell everybody I meet, I'm so happy to be the dumbest member of my company. And in my case, it is very true.
You know what I love about that story, and it's so fitting with the TiE University platform, it's the fact that you started this with your best friend out of college.
Exactly.
and both of you teamed up on the assignments. I love it.
Yes.
So it's so important to make friends while you're in school. So that's actually a great advice, that you've just shared. But I do want to talk about understanding. So you said something about the third generation of wireless, and some of these things are technical. Break it down for us. What is 5G? How did we get to 5G? So help us understand what's so different about 5G.
Excellent, I think. So 5G literally stands for fifth generation of wireless. The G is for the generation. So if I can give a little bit of background, I think 1G was all about making voice calls, basically phone calls on your cell phone, right? And that was all 1G was about. So there were car phones literally on the car. 2G was about adding text or SMS or a short message service or text messaging. I joined the industry when 1G was at the tail end and 2G was just coming in. So I think you might find it interesting that the first digital cell phone that I worked on was bigger than the refrigerator I have in my home. Literally 4 people had to pull and put it on a truck and we would drive because it was a prototype digital technology and all of that, right? So second generation was all about text. Third generation was about adding internet. So on the cell phone, now we can do data, not only voice, text, but we can do data. And fourth generation was about adding video capabilities. Okay. And so we had, and the fifth generation is about everything. So fifth generation, we are going to see, it's not about what we as people use in a mobile phone. It'll be about what the mobile autonomous vehicle, whether it's a car or a drone, will use. It is about what robots will use in the future. It is about what industrial applications might use. It is about what healthcare applications can happen. It's about what retail stores might use. So almost anything we use, you can imagine having a 5G connectivity. So that is at a very high level from a progression point of view, that is what 5G is about to usher in. Generally, every decade, every 10 years, you will see introduction of a new technology. And I think that's 5G is just starting to come. There's a lot more to 5G and we'll talk more about it. I think if you give me a couple of, you have a question, otherwise I wanted to add a little bit more to 5G.
Well, I do have a question, and it is trying to understand the word everything, right? So I thought 4G covered everything, right? You had video, you had voice and internet, and so what else are we missing that's in 5G architect that isn't in 4G? What's more?
Excellent. Okay. So we'll talk about, I think, but before we get to that, I think I just want to give this it's a cliched word, but I wanted to say, not all 5G is equal. Okay.
That's,
So yeah, exactly right. So people will see on TV, hey, I have 5G, we are 5G, we are 5G, but they are not all made equal, or they are not all created equal. Because one of the things about 5G is that it depends on this radio spectrum where you are deploying 5G. Okay. So, and there are three distinct spectrum. There is what they call low band, and there's the mid band and the high band. So when people talk about gigabit speeds, they are at what they call high band or millimeter wave. Okay. So when we want to bring a gigabit to a device, you need this very high frequency band where you have a lot of radio frequency available to be able to deliver that gigabits per second speed. Right? So that is basically at a first and foremost, not all 5G networks are created equal, and different network providers, depending on their marketing and depending on their business strategy, are deploying at different spectrum, as well as are deploying different applications of 5G. So then if I can talk a little bit and elaborate on the next portion, that 5G at a high level is broken into three distinct types of applications. So one is called enhanced broadband, which is basically raw speed, bringing a lot of data. So this is where you get to 1 gigabit per second and so forth, 2 gig in some cases. That is about bringing more speed, so you can do a lot more speed, information intensive activities, like if you are doing a virtual reality and things like that, where you need a lot more information going back and forth, right? And we'll cover that. So that is one group of applications, which are right now, I think if you think about it, at the beginning of 5G, that's what people are deploying. Enhanced broadband capabilities, so you can get higher speed in some cases. The second group of applications that you will see is what is called MMTC, which is massive machine communication, machine type communication. So what it means is that in a square kilometer, 1 million devices can be supported with 5G networks, which is almost 10 times what you can do with 4G. So that is the second group of application. And a very specific slice of that machine type communication is which is a third group of applications that is called URLCC. And I know I'm giving a lot of buzzwords. It's basically ultra reliable, low latency communication applications. So where you are basically doing 1 millisecond type round trip. So things that require extreme low latency applications. And again, virtual reality is an application that uses something like that. Or in the future, I think people talk about this, but this is a little bit ways away for legal and business reasons. But if you imagine a robotic surgery, where a surgeon is sitting somewhere and in a van in a remote location where there's no physician or surgeon available, somebody is going through a surgery and it is happening through haptic feedback to the surgeon. But you can imagine how it has to be very real time. Yeah. So those type of applications are called the ultra low latency. So at a very high level, when we talk about 5G, it is not just one thing. We will see the deployment of these different types of applications. The network capabilities will evolve over a period of time. So we will see deployment of 5G happen for a while.
Satyajit, that's amazing. And I try to write the acronyms, but I probably will butcher them. But I think I love the fact that you broke down, the low bandwidth, the mid bandwidth, the high bandwidth, and you explained currently, how enhanced broadband, MMTC, which is mass machine, it's fascinating.
Machine type communication.
machine type communication.
Yes,
One
massive
square
machine type.
mile where you have a million devices being able to talk to one another. So I'm thinking the IoT devices being able to
Absolutely.
talk to one another.
So
And
thank you.
then,
Yes, actually that MMTC is all about supporting IoT, but taking it to a level where there's such a dense, so much denseness, right? You can see a bunch of drones flying, bunch of cars there. You have a bunch of electric meters. You have a bunch of parking meters. Everything is in a square kilometer.
well, that's amazing because, well, then, all of this probably will require a lot of computing power. And I'm now wondering if everything is so close to where the machines or the action is, especially to get to the third one, URLL,
Yes.
you're going to need devices that are able to do computing like at the site, I assume, because otherwise, the round trip from here to from Dallas, it's at least 7
Yeah.
milliseconds. So tell me, where does computing or edge computing and 5G. And I think the reason I asked this question is because I think that there's going to be a huge skill gap in US. So I love for our students to learn, what is your, forecast on what's going to happen with the edge computing, and then how does it tie to potential opportunities for entrepreneur students to maybe build small businesses like you and your friend did, but to roll this stuff out. This is the U.S. is not there yet, is it? In rolling out its 5G. So tell us a little more about computing and opportunities for students. And I'd like for you to wrap that up in one, if
Okay.
possible.
Absolutely. Right. So I think from you made a very interesting observation from a computing perspective, right? So if you think about it, I think at the highest level, from a computing perspective, the industry is already going towards what I call distributed computing. So it used to be cloud computing came, and we had this paradigm of, hey, I have a centralized cloud where the applications are running, and then I have a client that is reaching out and using the application. I think now with what we will see is with edge computing, as you indicated, it's the whole idea is to bring the computing closer to where the traffic is. And that is the idea of edge computing. And the basic idea being that some things you need to do very quickly and some things can be done later. So there are 2 or 3 key reasons driving the shift from all the computing happening at the cloud, instead moving towards where the users are, where the traffic is. One is the latency part that you talked about, right? The second is, which is very important also, is just backhauling and the transporting all the information. That could be very expensive. Imagine a city like London where they have put so many video cameras and you are now backhauling all of that. It would be really cool if we are able to put some very smart inference along with the cameras, where it can only look for what we want it to look for, and it doesn't have to immediately bring all the information in real time. So now you are moving the computing and storage close to those cameras, and you can then at night, when the consumer and the other user traffic is less, you can then transport that up. So by doing things like that, we are now able to move the processing close to where the users are, and then transport the information when it is cheapest or with its most advantageous. So that is the concept of edge computing. And because of that, what is going to happen is that we are going to see applications written in such a way that a few things happen on the device, something happens on this edge computing, and some things happen at the cloud. So now you have distributed the entire application. It is no longer everything happening on the cloud or everything happening at the computer. So that is the fundamental concept. Now, how does 5G and this concept come together? So in 2 ways. One is because of the ubiquity that 5G will bring. So one of the key things we can do with 5G that we couldn't do before, right, is I talked about the speed and other things, but now we can imagine a town which has no wired connection and everything is just wireless with 5G. Okay, so
you got to have power. Well, is it
yeah,
going to be solar?
you do need power, absolutely,
Okay.
right? but you don't have any nobody is digging trenches and running. Okay, so you can
Oh yeah.
imagine a time with 5G, right? So
Right.
5G can provide that connectivity to all the sensors, all the meters, everybody who is generating traffic, whether it is a camera, it's a sensor, it's a car, it's a robot, it's an industrial machine. So you have 5G connectivity. And then edge computing is smaller compute as opposed to cloud being a massive compute placed at the right place. So one of the areas people are putting edge computing is closer to the cell towers. So that's why you are seeing in US relationships happening between a company like Microsoft and AT&T, for example, or a company like Verizon and Amazon and AWS. Right? So they are basically doing partnerships where they are able to push that compute. Service providers have a lot of locations available because by nature they have to have these towers and other things, whereas the cloud companies have data centers in centralized locations. So this is how the business is changing. So from now going back to your original question, how does an entrepreneur, a student, how do they think about this, right? So one of the things that 5G, cloud computing, AI, and machine learning, those things coming together are creating is. So let's say I'm a student of industrial engineering. That's what I love doing. Now I, as a student, can say, hey, how can I improve safety using 5G, edge computing, and AI? I can have cameras which are acting like sensors. I have local storage, and I have AI, which is looking at every accident that happens. I can analyze, I can see which worker is doing the following proper safety procedures, which worker is not following safety procedures, or I can see why accident occurred and then go back and put sensors there so I can stop the machine when somebody comes that close. So here's an application. So I love the industrial domain. I can create something like that. Let's say I'm a biomedical engineering student and I'm all about biomedical engineering. I understand diseases, I understand engineering, I understand computers. Now suddenly I can use 5G, edge compute, AI, computing, these four things together to create devices that can prevent somebody who cannot walk from falling, or that can create a smart wheelchair that is not only just helping somebody go, but it is also measuring their body temperature, it is measuring their heart rate, it is other parameters that gives indication of the health. So here's another place where I can create something interesting. So any domain you pick, whether I'm interested in cars, so you have seen Tesla and other things, and so I can create something for cars. I'm interested in music, so I can create very interesting things using now the music interest that I have with some virtual reality, with 5G enabled devices, with edge computing. So I can bring all these technologies together and create interesting applications. So that is at a very simple level, or I shouldn't say simple, but at a very practical level. To deploy these 5G networks is not easy. And especially when I talked about that high band, you need 5 to 10 times the number of towers that we have today. Now, they are not these massive towers, they are small, but somebody has to go install it. So if that is your passion, if just operations is your passion, then you can go and say, all right, I will start a small company where I can have a few technicians. I can provide jobs in my local town and ask them to help install all this and make sure 5G network is available for all these interesting applications to happen. So amazing amount of opportunities depending on your domain interest. I hope that made sense.
It made a lot of sense. I love the examples you gave. At TiE University, we're all about helping the students, find opportunities. And you're not asking the students to create the next unicorn. You're asking them to use this technology that's coming into the U.S. And use it to solve old problems, right?
Yes.
Or solve the problems better than how they were solved before. And that in itself is entrepreneurship. So
Absolutely.
I love the practical examples you give. I'd like for you to kind of take a step back and say, what skills do you recommend students to have to understand some of these things? I'd love for you to talk about skills.
Yeah. So one of the things we work with our customers and we tell them is, as you look ahead, right? I think our view is that as a student who is in university, you need, I'll bucketize into 4 different high-level areas, right? Number 1, your domain. Whether you are in biology, whether you are in healthcare, whether you are in music, whether you are in drama, whether you are interested in industrial engineering, mechanical engineering, whatever is your interest, you need to know your domain well, because you are going to solve problems in your domain. That is one of the things, because that's why you are studying that, whether it is textile engineering, whether it is arts and humanity, whatever you are studying, right? Imagine a teacher who is basically, who loves to teach kids, and they are finding in remote cities, there are in remote villages, I want to go and teach. So that is your first domain you need to develop skills in, right? Second is you need to understand at least the level 5G at a level, so you understand what can 5G do for me, right? What is possible with 5G. You don't need to know the details of how 5G works, but what is possible with 5G. So that is the second thing to know, right? The third part is the data analytics, right? And develop the skills in that, hey, because you want to gather all the data that you can, and 5G can help you gather a lot of data. So you want to gather all the data and say, hey, how do I derive some real intelligence out of the data? What type of, like in a teacher's example, what type of students get when I say, and what are struggling? Or in the example of a music, get some feedback about what parts of music people are enjoying. You release a song, what parts are people are rewinding and listening more, whatever is your domain, right? And the last skill I would say is some programming to tie it all together. So then you are able to use your domain, your 5G capabilities, data analytics, and a little bit of some programming to create an end-to-end solution that is reacting to what you are seeing on the ground, what customers are doing, and continuously improving the experience for the users of your solution. So
great advice. I caught basically build on your domain expertise. That's a great, wherever you start, you have to know your basic, whether it be sciences or arts. That's great. And you talked about 5G knowledge. Is there any sources or what do you recommend? Do you recommend Award Solutions to come and learn, or maybe some YouTube channels, or what do you recommend?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of information available. Of course, I think we are happy to help students. I think if they are interested, and I'm not here to plug my company. Happy to help, I think, if anybody wants to reach out. However, I think there are a lot of YouTube channels. You can do research on that. If you search, we have a YouTube channel, others have it too. So you will find 5G that way. You will also see universities are now making some of the 5G curricula available, public universities and some private schools have 5G available, and you will see a lot of coursework there. And last thing I would say is, if that is your interest, then subscribe to sites, right? There are several like 5G Americas, right? There's a site called that keeps releasing, hey, what is going on in America in 5G. So subscribe to this and 5G newsletters, so you will keep getting new information about what is happening in 5G. At certain point, I think, so this is where you will develop your 5G skills. And the part of 5G, 5G is so vast that you want to then go to a specialized skill. So for example, I think one of the things that is very interesting about 5G that we didn't get to, but it's a good thing for students to look at. So there's a 5G. 5G is a network being designed and developed by one organization called 3GPP. Okay. .org, Third Generation Partnership Project.org. So they develop all the standards and all of that for 5G technology. But automotive has 5GAA, 5G Automotive Association. So they are saying, how do we want to adapt 5G? Okay. And they are building very specific things about 5G. So if you are interested in automotive, go follow them, because they will talk very specific about 5G. They won't talk about what AR, VR wants to, or virtual reality wants to do with 5G. Or there is equivalent on the industrial applications for 5G. So they have a whole group, or there's a real estate people who are doing 5G. So when I said 5G is for everything, it's basically all these different business segments or sectors are now creating their industry bodies to say, how do we adapt 5G and what changes would we like to see, or what type of things do we want the network providers and the device manufacturers to create so they become suitable for our domain, whether it is automotive domain, healthcare domain, real estate domain, music domain, whatever is the domain. So there's so many places you can get this information. So decide where you want to be, otherwise you will get a lot of information and won't be able to leverage all of it. And it is changing so fast that if you don't use it, things would have changed very quickly.
That's great advice about gathering 5G knowledge. Find those associations. So if it's automotive, you said 5GAA, for 3GPP.org, which is sets the standards. You've talked about healthcare having one, industrial having one. So all of these industries have some effort around 5G, and you could probably join groups on LinkedIn or YouTube channels or those
Absolutely.
association meetings.
Yeah.
Are there any conferences? I'm sure
there are several conferences. One of the big conferences for telecommunication is called, it actually just happened, called Mobile World Congress, which is basically the largest congress. And unfortunately, COVID had some impact. Pre-COVID, this conference used to have more than 120,000 people gather in Barcelona, Spain.
Wow.
Okay. Yes, it's a massive conference. Okay, and all of these have conferences. The good part for students is now a lot of these are virtual. So you don't have to spend all this money to travel there. I think you can just attend. A lot of these conferences actually have heavily discounted student passes. So they can actually get a much cheaper, in some cases free. University may be able to sponsor them and so forth.
That's great advice that while you're in school, make use of the student passes, because as soon as
Yes.
you graduate, you got to pay the full price.
Absolutely, yes. IEEE is also a very good place for the research. So those who are research minded, right, they can subscribe to IEEE. IEEE has IEEE Vehicular Communication. So they have a lot of work, which is the Institute of Engineers, essentially, for engineering students.
So great, you've shared so many awesome resources for 5G knowledge. You know, the third thing you had said was around data analytics. And I also call that data mining. These are fields that have really evolved in the business. Any resources, or are you suggesting to take an online business class, or where does someone learn data analytics or data mining in your, if you had to give advice to your son, what would you do? What would you tell him?
Well, those who are in universities, they have enough university. Most universities provide a lot of good information, right? And I don't claim to be an expert on data analytics. I understand that enough. So I have team members who are experts in this, so I can follow up with you on that, Ravi, on very interesting. And for the students, or next time we can have a talk from one of my team members on just that aspect of it, and they can simplify it and they can give really good information. So on that aspect of it.
No, that's great. And the last thing you had shared was programming and coding. And again, I think there are enough resources, thanks to YouTube, you can learn a lot from great teachers. So now let's go
Plus, I
back.
think like Coursera, which is a mission of using the best. Okay, so Udemy, Coursera, there are a lot of resources available now. So I think.
No, that's fantastic. So now so thank you. You've shared a lot for students, lots of opportunities around skill building and education. Let's now, change the gear to really talk about entrepreneurial opportunities. So assume the student has these skills and they've got this. What do you see are potential opportunities for students to, in the next 5 years or 10 years, what do you see coming on the horizon that they can leverage beyond the idea, some of the solutions you've shared, some practical entrepreneurship. Like if you were back in college and your co-founder Ram was also, what would you two do? Where do you see some opportunities for students?
Yeah, so I think I'll speak a little bit about under the hood on 5G. Right. So see, 4G networks architecturally, 3G, 4G networks architecturally were built like we all have a home router, so we understand the concept of a router. So they were built like every function in the network that makes a network happen was a monolithic function. So it was hardware and some operating system and some database and some security function and some application that is serving the function, whether it is a voicemail box or whether it is a box that allows you to do text messaging or whether it is a box that allows you to do mobility so you can take your phone and move anywhere. All these functions were built like a monolith. Okay. And they were provided by one vendor. 5G is designed where all these functions are like applications. Okay, so very much like small IT applications or microservices for those who are in computer science. So a very tiny little application. So a simple example, you go to a web page like Amazon or something, you're trying to shop. Behind the scene, there are 70, 100 microservices working to create that web page and shopping experience for you. Right? So somebody is giving the reviews, you may also like this. One microservice is providing the description, another microservice is inserting advertisements, some is giving you other related information, so forth and all. Right? So, but that was the concept that was created in the through the Web 2.0 and the all these internet companies created that. Now that concept is coming into 5G.
Wow.
So 5G network is basically saying, yes, we are no longer that monolith hardware-based box. We are becoming an application which is built like a microservice. Okay, so what that means is if you look at a radio tower, so it used to be on a tower, you have some physical antennas that you see. And at the bottom of the tower, you will see some piece of equipment which is running the radio aspect of it, the digital aspect of it, and all of that. That is now broken into applications that run on a cloud. So, okay, and small. So for example, you have a little bit of something that does the scheduling of resources, something that does logging, something that does security. So now if I and Ramki were there, we would basically say, hey, what do we enjoy? If we enjoy security, let's create small applications in security. And then go and try to see, hey, how can we complement other company solutions? Because now it is very easy for service providers or the manufacturers of this equipment to basically bring, because it's a very open architecture, everything through APIs. And all these microservices are working with each other through application programming interface. That's what API is. So there are a lot of opportunities in that space. Right? The second part that what you will start seeing is that you will start seeing very specialized thing already available. So healthcare specific platforms are out there, right? So, and then you can build an application. So you don't have to worry about all the, in the United States, you have to worry about HIPAA compliance and this and that, and all that is available. If you are good at, if you enjoy or you have a unique idea that, hey, people who are suffering from diabetes and they have this problem, and you have a solution that you see is not technology enabled yet. Now you can just build that application onto a platform that is already out there. So there are several, again, I go back to the domain. Look at what your domain interest is. What have you gone to school to study? And then go work with companies or engage with companies or associations who are discussing the challenges they are facing. And then you will start getting these ideas. Hey, if I just observe 5G automotive, they will talk about what are some of the key things they would like to see happen. And then you can start creating something. So that is one way to address coming out of school directly into business.
Yeah, and if I understood you correctly, I'm going to try to paraphrase, but currently there are these 5 feet, 6 feet towers that stand, high into the sky.
Yeah.
All of those are coming down into smaller boxes,
Yes.
multiple boxes, probably closer together. So you're going to
Yeah.
need more of them.
Yes.
So you're going to need people with skills that understand the technology, but also need manpower that's trained by the manufacturer to
Yes.
come and install them or use them, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that's what you're.
So,
okay.
yeah. So I addressed that, but if I can just elaborate a little bit, I think about what a platform like iPhone did. Before that, phone was a monolith. Then iPhone came as a platform, and now we have so many applications. Similar thing is happening on the networking equipment. It was a monolith. Now we are saying, hey, you have a computing platform or a cloud available. On that, you start building small applications, and these applications work together to create a solution. So I think what you are hinting at is if you are computer science and if you are that, then you do that. If you are something else, then yes, there's clearly a lot in installation is there. There's a lot of work to be done in fine tuning it, troubleshooting. If you enjoy debugging and troubleshooting, right? How do you optimize the performance of such a network or an application that is massively deployed, right? So there's a lot of optimization related things. Some will happen through big data and some you need human intelligence to look beyond that too. So the opportunities are everywhere, I think.
That's great. And then I see all of those as, you can become a B2B kind of a business owner who's providing tech support or installation support or consulting. If you really get good at this art, you can do consulting. And believe it or not, that's a business. That's an entrepreneur, professional entrepreneur.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's how you've made your money because you're consulting.
Yeah, and training, absolutely. And I think it is at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, you chase what you like, right?
That's good.
I think that is the fundamental, because as being an entrepreneur, as you know, Ravi, very well, it's not easy. It's not for everybody, right? And you will burn midnight oil and you will work really hard and you have to be passionate about it, and you will encounter some success and you will encounter failures and all of that. And you can only go through that if you really like, or I should say, like at a minimum, love optimally what you are doing. Because if you are not in that mode, you cannot go through that and have a good outcome at the end. It's not that easy. So I want to be clear. I think the students should understand entrepreneurship is fun. There is a lot of resources available. In fact, one of the things that they will find, if I can just plug in TiE here a little bit, is at TiE, as you know, there are so many entrepreneurs who are willing to give back, who enjoy mentoring students, who want to spend, who will make time on a Sunday, who will make time on a Diwali day, okay, to go help somebody if a student wants help or if a young entrepreneur wants help, who will make time on a Christmas evening. So that is basically who we are as a group of people on TiE. So that help is available, but you have to like and love what you do.
Satyajit, that's great advice. And because you're very passionate about what you do, that's why you're so willing to be helpful to others. And I think this is a great way for me to ask you, will you mentor TiE University students? Will you be on the platform? Will you be available for students to host a one-on-one appointment with you?
Absolutely.
And then how can they get in? So I want to also plug in that tieuniversity.org.
Yeah.
You'll find Satyajit, Doctor, on the platform. But other than that, I just want your commitment, Satyajit, that you'll support TiE University student, and that certainly you'll share this vast amount of knowledge you have in this emerging tech space for our students. Committed?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I just wanted to correct myself in the sense when I was agreeing with you, I was shaking my head as if I'm saying no, but no, I was agreeing with you. Okay, absolutely. In fact, not only that, I will be happy to bring some of my colleagues who may have very specialized, depending on what the participant or a student needs help with. Okay, and if I can't help, so let's say somebody is trying to create a fintech. Okay, and I know other charter members or other members in the TiE group who are experts in fintech, but I am not. Financial technology, by fintech I meant. I will actually make some phone calls and say, hey, can you please get on a call, okay, and help this student? And I have done it in the past, and people have jumped and helped. Again, I think one of the important thing I want to get across, I'm sure you have tried a lot and you do it all the time, but to the student who is listening, that TiE is made up of entrepreneurs who volunteer their time, who want to give back, who want to help. Right? So only people who show up to this organization want to help, right? And they're eager, and I think absolutely. I think that's in our DNA, I should say.
That's fantastic, and this is why I love talking to you, Satyajit. I know you and the TiE Dallas board are so passionate about serving students, and all of you are very experts in your own domain. So great conversation. And boy, if you're the black sheep of the family, I'm like, whoa, what about the others? There must be. So that is amazing. That's fantastic. Satyajit, I want to thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. And students, if you're watching this on YouTube and you like to get in touch with Satyajit, do find them on the TiE University community platform. But also you can find him on LinkedIn. Satyajit, any other way students can get in touch with you?
So I think those are the best way, and because those will remain constant, and I will always be available, and I will respond. Okay.
Awesome. Satyajit, I don't want to be between you and that beautiful San Diego beach. I thank you for your time today, and go out there and splash a little water for me.
Absolutely, Ravi. No, it's a pleasure. I think, thank you. And this was fun. To all the students, please come on. If not Satyajit, I think there are many other mentors who can really help, who are eager to help. And that's what we are about at TiE, helping students. And TiE University that's all it's about. And happy to be part of it.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Satyajit. All right, logging off.